While I still maintain that the things that went down at the Oregon Wildlife Refuge were provocateured, and I still think it was an ill-advised plan, I think a lot of people don't understand what actually happened there to cause this situation to happen. They're trying to find a way to protest the government swooping in like Nazis and essentially harassing people off of their land. Because that's what's going on. It's going on all across the country and especially in the West. They're trying to basically own everything and kick all of these people off of their land or buy it for pennies on the dollar in any way possible. What happened in the case of the Hammonds, and Ben Shapiro does a pretty good write-up here, the government wants their land. They've wanted it for a long time, and the people won't sell it to them. So they bought up all the land around it and have surrounded them and started squeezing them out of their grazing and water rights. What happened to the Hammonds was this. They initiated a burn on their property to kill weeds that suck up the water. This is the kind of thing the government, the BLM, does on land that's federally owned all the time. They burn back the weeds. They called the BLM beforehand for permission. Not exactly arson, okay? They burned 138 acres of federal land. They told the BLM they were going to do it. Controlled burn. Did not go to jail. No terrorism laws, no arson. 2006, they do the same thing again, burn 1 acre of federal land. The 1 acre is what did it. The 1 acre, they decided to charge them with arson. The judge in the case, under the Orwellian Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act of 1996, sentenced the older man to 3 months in federal prison, and the son had a concurrent 1-year sentence. But then the DOJ, the Department of Justice, appealed the sentences, won in the Ninth Circuit Court, and they forced both of these guys to go back to jail to serve the mandatory minimum 5 years. Did Eric Holder do any time for Fast and Furious? Anti-terrorism charges, 5 years in jail. For something the government does all the time and has allowed them to do in the past. Now do you see what's going on here? And then in their plea agreement, forces them to give them first right of refusal on sale of their private property. In their plea agreement. They cannot sell their land to anybody. They have to sell it to the government first. Tell me these people aren't being made an example of. Tell me this is not selective enforcement.
And there's no doubt that they're trying to steal land. And when people lose their land rights, we basically all become serfs again. It's going back to the Dark Ages before the Magna Carta.
And this is what outraged people so badly, that the government would harass people like this. And what you're about to see is very much like the Mafia sending a warning. The BLM in Oregon starts setting fire to lands around other ranchers, because they knew the ranchers were getting pissed, rightly so. To send what I can only say must be a message. The BLM goes up to these other areas around where they have property around these other ranchers' property and sets completely uncontrolled fires downwind at a time of year when they don't even normally do this, because of the ability of it to catch bigger fires and go in places it's not supposed to, sets a whole bunch of uncontrolled fires and then just walks away while it threatens their land, their homes, and burns up their cattle alive.
As you can see, they brought the fire right to us. Somehow overnight it ended up right here. They're not putting it out, they're lighting it. We've got BLM went in and lit fire along the hillside here by the dump, but there's nobody here. When the wind hits it, it's going to carry it right on along the hill. Nobody's around. They lit the fire right here close to everybody's houses, and we're going to have a hell of a lot of fire come evening. This is what they've got lit upwind of us right now. They're putting in a whole line of fire. They're still lighting, burning fences, power poles, you name it.
This is a bunch of bullshit, let me tell you. We're standing at the crows, and them sons of bitches started at the corner of the road where it leaves the pavement, and they're lighting that son of a bitch on fire all the way around it.
They're determined they're going to burn everybody out. They're lighting it up here. Again, got Jimmy and Jerry and those guys right downwind of where these guys are lighting fire again. We're heading trying to go help save the corral system.
It's just the ultimate hypocrisy. They're going after people for the letter of the law. That's why we're seeing these uprisings and rebellions, while the government is burning lands, burning cattle, destroying people's homes and properties, and intimidating them out of the land.
Here's a cow that's been burnt really bad. We got these guys going to light fire up from us again. They don't care where we're at or what's going on, but yeah, he said, I will arrest you. This highway is closed, Scott. I said, well, I got to get on the other end of the fire. You ain't going, he said. I said, well, we got to get over there because if you burn me out down there. Well, so yeah, this is what we got. Those guys that we just went by upwind, they're lighting it, have it coming right to us here.
And they're completely misusing the notion of this land is our land as federal land being land that no one can use now, when it has historically, since the time of the Magna Carta, been common land for the general enrichment of everyone. Instead, they're using it as a way to put people in boxes and take land away from some of the last remaining true property rights landowners in the country. I mean, in cities, it's already a done deal. You're not the true owner of your property when you pay property taxes and you can lose it on a dime. Out there in the West, where they're still raising cattle in rugged lands, they're trying to steal it. It's such a scam, and it's so evil.
I mean, they're terrorizing these people, threatening them with fires they don't control that could basically go change wind at any time and burn their homes down, burning down their fences, burning down utility poles, and burning their cattle alive. The cattle is burnt alive.
We're going to try to spray this down. No place to go with the cow except in the corral. A lot of them are already burnt really bad from them guys lighting them and trapping these cattle in the fire. Here's what we got.
And they don't pay for it. It's not like they come back and write them a check later. Sorry, we did that. No, they just terrorize these people with fire. That's arson. That's terrorism. And now you got everyone walking away from this Oregon Wildlife Refuge thing thinking patriot militias are terrorists, ranchers are terrorists. I mean, that's what the general public now is totally numbly, ignorantly believing. I mean, I still believe that whole thing was provocateured. I knew they were walking into a trap when it started, and that's why I did the video I did. But don't think for 2 seconds that I have any point was on the government side in this. What this government is doing is criminal Nazi behavior. It's horrible. This is horrible.
Is the government terrifying the landowners and the ranchers? It's right here on video. What you saw in the news about the Oregon standoff is just a microcosm, a tip of the iceberg of what's being done to the people on these lands and the physical threats against them as a result of the actions of the BLM and other government federal agencies.
I mean, I don't know what it is that they're supposed to do. Something is going to have to, I mean, this is going to come to a head one way or another. I think the Oregon Wildlife Refuge that's just the beginning. This is not over.
And these flimsy Agenda 21 pretexts of protecting endangered tortoises and whatever else.
No, they're stealing people's land. The government is burning people off of their land, terrorizing them, destroying their property, and to boot, they laugh about it. Once they finally swoop in and steal it for pennies on the dollar, if they even pay at all, they laugh about it.
Dick calls and said, we need to have a meeting. There's a mine I want to acquire. So, okay. And so we had this meeting, and I'm sitting there, and I believe Mary was there too. And well, what's the value? Do you have an idea what the value of this mine is? Yeah, around 40 million. I forget how long it took us to acquire it.
Forever.
It did take forever because we went out to the mine, and the owners were two little guys that had been in the Second World War. This mine was in operation in the 40s. But anyway, we did get it appraised, and we did acquire for $2.5 million, which I stole the money from Washington. Lands isn't always supported because we're the bad guys. We come in and we take this land, and we always take it for less than it's worth.
I don't know what else to say. I just think people need to see that this happened, see the crimes of this government plainly in plain view on tape right here.
Well, there goes the house up in smoke that they surrounded with fire earlier. Totally caused by BLM.
While I still maintain that the things that went down at the Oregon Wildlife Refuge were provocateured, and I still think it was an ill-advised plan, I think a lot of people don't understand what actually happened there to these people off of their land or buy it for pennies on the dollar in any way possible. What happened in the case of the Hammonds, and Ben Shapiro does a pretty good write-up here, the government wants their land. They've wanted it for a long time, and the people won't sell it to them. So they bought up all the land around it and have surrounded them and started squeezing them out of their grazing and water rights. What happened to the Hammonds was this. They initiated a burn on their property to kill weeds that suck up the water. This is the kind of thing the government, the BLM, does on land that's federally owned all the time. They burn back the weeds. They called the BLM before caused this situation to happen. They're trying to find a way to protest the government swooping in like Nazis and essentially harassing people off of their land. Because that's what's going on. It's going on all across the country, and especially in the West. They're trying to basically own everything and kick all of their hand for permission. Not exactly arson, okay? They burned 138 acres of federal land. They told the BLM they were going to do it. Controlled burn. Did not go to jail. No terrorism laws, no arson. 2006, they do the same thing again, burn 1 acre.